again. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're watching us from. Very excited and very happy to be here to just share with you matters finances. Financial Diet is an amazing show, and we are lucky to have you sit down and spend time to watch us. We do appreciate. And as I'd said earlier in the show, that we will, with time, be getting guests, and I'm very excited to have a guest with me, and happy to learn from my guest, and I believe definitely you will learn. I've known her for a very long time, and I know she is a resource and has a lot of information and material that will help you. She's an expert in many areas, and most importantly, tax matters. But today we're not talking about taxes. There's another area she's gifted in. That's what we want to tap into this resource on. She's called Martha, and I will introduce her to you, and I will allow her to say hello to us as we prepare to hear more what she has for us today. Karibu.
Thank you very much for having me, and hello to everybody watching us. And we are hoping to have a wonderful interactive session as we tackle matters personal finances.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you.
So when you talk about personal finances, what does it entail? What would you, if it came to you, I don't know about finances, what would you tell?
I would start with a very common quote or citation, that if you do not take control over your money, then the lack of it will eventually have control over you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what we're saying is we must learn to take care of our finances, the lots we got in our own special spaces. And it's very prudent to do that, because then that helps us to get out of very many life circumstances that the lack of it could have contributed. And we can say there is not like a set yardstick as to how to manage our finances. But for you to maybe pick on a proper control method over your finances, or a managing method, there are various issues that you got to look up to, or various factors that would help you evaluate the best method to pick to manage your finances. And this would entail maybe your previous personal experiences with how you interacted with money. That can help you determine which method will work for me, because maybe I took method X and this didn't work out for me last time. And of course, your financial situation, that's another factor to bear in mind. And by that we mean that my financial situation compared to another person might not gear us to the same financial saving method or something like that. So my financial muscle will also determine how well I manage my personal expenses, or rather my personal finances. Another factor to bear in mind is my mindset about money. What mindset do I have about money? And that will definitely help me choose the method that works best for me.
But mindset, what do you mean about the mindset?
Without going into very deep financial financial terms, I would say is that if you come to a very low standard, a mindset about money. Am I a person? I get money, and the only thing about is how I'm gonna dress up. Is it how I'm gonna save for tomorrow? You know, that's a mindset. What's my mindset about money? Do I allow money to control me, or can I tell money it's you to listen to me? That's the mindset.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and for you to be able to gear towards being disciplined to tackling your personal finances, you got to think and understand, what are your goals? Why do you want to be disciplined in your financial space or in your personal finances. And I would maybe narrow down to 3 goals. One would be to put up an emergency fund. Another one will be to get me off debt, or rather to stay away from debt. That is why maybe as a person, I will gear towards taking care of my personal finances. And then the other goal is to track my expenses, which is very, very key. I think that one maybe would come to my number 2. As a number 1, maybe I will give it to setting up the emergency fund. And if I would talk on emergency fund, what's an emergency fund? An emergency fund is a contingency, that would help us to tackle financial risks that are thrown to us when we least expect, you know. And if we go back to the year 2020, it's a year that might not fade in many people's lives, you know, if not all of us, because the pandemic came, jobs were lost, businesses were closed down. What happened? We were thrown into some murky waters, some enchanted waters that nobody saw coming. So most people maybe relocated because maybe you could not be able to survive or afford the normal lifestyle. But for you to build an emergency fund, it is a fund that will help you to survive when such things occur, or when maybe there are sicknesses and diseases that, and there are medical bills that you cannot take care of. So when we go back to 2020, for example, it is normally advisable that you have a fund that can run you 6 to 12 months, even without a job. But how do you get yourself there? Again, we go back to how you handle your personal finances.
Wow, it's all interrelated.
It's all there. That's like the umbrella. Then all this, it is. That's the goal. That's your goal number 1. Why do I take care of my money? So that tomorrow I'm able to take care of my children and to run my life in a period of between 6 to 12 months before maybe I look for something else to do, you know, before maybe things go back to normal, before I get another job. So you should always be, as in depending on how you have tracked your expenses, and monthly you know how much do I spend. Do I run, maybe my monthly budget is say 50,000. So at any point I should have with me money to run me through 6 months
So that's
to
like
1 year.
300,000.
To 1 year, to 1 year. So I would always want to look, you see 300 is on the lower side. So why don't we work it? We push our muscles to higher disciplines of making it 1 year than 6 months, because I may not get a job in 6 months. There's no job waiting for you here. There's no business waiting for you. Pick up and it starts repaying you. The payback period is 6 months. Maybe for business to pay back, it can take a while, but you still want to, because there are some things that will not feed. You got to feed, you know, there are fixed costs, there are utilities, you got to pay. So that's why we say prudently, assign yourself 6 to 12 months, I can survive.
Not, you had said 3 to 6. Or
oh, sorry, my apologies.
It's okay,
6 to 12 months,
but you see, like for example, when the pandemic came in March last year, 2020, no one knew that would last. It would last. Actually, even right now, almost a year after, we are talking about still having the pandemic around us.
Yes.
So if I had a buffer, that's what I was saying, you're correct about the 6 to 12 months. When you had a buffer of an emergency fund of between 3 to 6 months, by say August thereabout, you would have run out of the emergency fund that you had.
Absolutely.
So I agree with you about the 6 to 12 months.
The 6 to 12 months, yes. It is a tough thing to do, but again, that's why we're going through this, and so that we can get some little financial nuggets and ways to instill discipline in us, because we always told, if you can even make it to 15 months, why not? Because it's been 1 year, things have not stabilized. If you're running a bar, for example, there's curfew, so you're expected to feed your family. I mean, so you understand. We're still not there yet. Of course, business is life is slowly bouncing back,
Yeah,
but we're
yeah.
not there yet. And the pandemic is just one of them, one of the occurrences. But it could be it could be a sickness, and the bills are huge, and you got to take care of them. So we should always try and push ourselves to the maximum. Yeah,
Ah,
that
okay.
we
So the
can.
more the better. The bigger the buffer or the
The
fund,
better,
the better.
yeah,
Ah,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
The better, the sooner you jump into it, works out for you, because that will also avoid lots of other things. Because that's why people sink into depression, for example, because you're here and things are not working out for you. What happens?
Wow.
What happens? Slowly you start sinking into depression.
Yeah, yeah.
You create more problems than, and it's something maybe by God's grace that we could have tackled in our history, you know, some years back. Yeah, so for you to enjoy that fruit tomorrow, it starts today.
So-
and that's one of our, that's one of our budgeting tips maybe that we shall tackle later.
Okay.
Start today. It's never too late. Start where you are at. Yes.
So do I, like for example, let me use the pandemic,
Yeah.
COVID. I'm on month 3. My
Yeah.
buffer is 1 year.
Yeah.
Do I wait until I run out on the buffer, or how do I like plow back in? Do I sit, or do I do something about the buffer, or what would
Well, depending on the circumstances, first and foremost, the first thing you do is to try and cut on our spending, you know, because even if I had a buffer and one of the allocations maybe is an eat out, like every Sunday we got to go eat out as a family, I would maybe prefer cook at home. Then I have cut out a huge chunk of that would eat out on the buffer. So you see that way, because I don't know for how long this gonna stay around with us. And maybe also depending, again, there are very many things to consider. Is it maybe, can I start a business? Maybe that is something totally different. Again, depending on the circumstances you are in, you're better. Because if it is job loss, for example, you're not assured you're going to get a job tomorrow. Because job losses happened to many people. It's not just yourself. You know, if it is salary cuts, then a salary cut calls for a cut in your spending. You know, so things have to go hand in hand. Because if I was earning this much and we were given a 30%, then I'm going to cut my spending to 30% to get me back to the same lifestyle that I had earlier. You get? So I think that's what I would say. It depends with the circumstances we are in. Yeah, so you can, if it's a job loss, you're not assured, I'm going to bounce to employment tomorrow. Maybe do I start some small business, especially now with the era of social media, it's a big thing. Bounce into the space that you have at the moment. Take advantage of the opportunities that are there. Social media now, as I say, is just about everything. You can find out what to do in that small space you are in. But otherwise, life has to move, and you don't want to be caught until when you have finished up all your buffer and the kids have to eat. The kids are now back to school. Their bills to be paid. Their utility bills as well to be paid.
The landlord would not understand that you have COVID.
Nope.
COVID around.
No.
Actually, that reminds me that there's a place I'd been, and this lady was saying that when COVID struck, she was very she was crippled in terms of her finances. So she decided, what can I do that can bring me back income and income very fast? And she got into farming. And the farming that she got into is the farming that within a month or two, your income, whatever monies that you had plowed in, comes back. Right now, she's an expert. Actually, we went to learn from her. How do you get into business? And we actually even saw guys around that time that they decided, let me instead of sitting, let me just do a show. You know, the guys that were in the media, let me just do a show. And right now, they're making monies. Actually, they're big. I will not share the story of the director. He also told me around that time business was good. So you don't sit around.
No.
That's my point. You don't sit around and wait until your fund runs out.
Not at all.
No.
Not at all.
And
and it's good that you're mentioning food, because you see what we are saying in all this conversation. There are things that won't fade. you got to eat. I might delay buying a dress, but I cannot delay feeding my children.
Very true.
So food will always be a key thing, maybe to venture into if you have the muscle and if you have the means. No matter how small you start,
Yeah.
you can always thrive into something that can put food on the table. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we've tackled one of the goals, which is putting up an emergency fund, which we've said it's a contingency that will help you dive into those enchanted waters when we least expect it. And so if we tackle number 2, which is to track our expenses, that's another goal. Because when you track your expenses, you'll be surprised at how much you spend. And this involves everything, every coin that you spend. And in this modern world, maybe some years back, the only way maybe we'll do it, maybe putting up like an Excel, but now there are even money application apps that you can use, money tracking applications that you can use. So maybe download a money tracking app, and whatever coin you spend, you've bought tomatoes, put it up there. You've gone out, taken one director for tea, put it down there.
Wait, even the small amounts.
It doesn't matter, whatever coin,
Wow.
whatever coin it is. We are saying we are not tracking some. We are tracking all your
All
expenses,
expenses.
all of them.
Wow.
Track your expenses.
Wow.
And by tracking, you'll also be able to single out what are my major spends. Like, where do I spend more? Do I spend more on beauty, for example? I mean, you can be able to do an analysis. That's the word, actually. You can be able to do an analysis, and that will help you decide, do I need to cut down on this? Do I need to cut down on this? If, for example, we go back to our first example, eat-outs. Eat-outs, people don't realize are expensive. If my family, for example, I've got 3 children and their father and myself, we've gone out. At the end of the day, the money will not, the money that we spend on the eat out, if you do it cumulatively, it might surprise you how much that can be. And so when you track your expenses, you'll be surprised. You just take this tab, it's groceries, fine. Groceries, what exactly? Fine. Maybe your car as well, because it's an expense. You know, in every of those categories, just clump them together, and it will help you to analyze where maybe do I need to cut out. So personal tracking of personal expenses is very essential.
All expenses.
All expenses.
Okay.
You've gone to the kiosk, bought salt, that is an expense.
You write it down.
Write it down.
Okay.
Write it down.
Wow.
Yeah, so you've used the matatu to town, write it down, transport. So at the end of the day, if you're using Uber, for example, you'll be able to say, wow, look how much I've spent. So what can you do? Let me use matatu instead of Uber. So such. So we'll be able to cluster and be able to do an analysis, and that will help us to decide where do I need to cut out.
Okay.
Yes.
So we have the emergency fund, and now listing all the expenses. Okay,
and we've said there are many ways to do that. You can do an Excel. You can download apps nowadays with modern technology that can help you. And the best way to do is daily, not to say I'm going to do that after a week, because being a human mind, we are bound to forget. So it is better struck when hot.
Wow.
Every day. At the end of the day, SK, sit down, release all your expenses.
Wow.
It will surprise you at the end of whatever your financial period is. If it's monthly, like myself, then it will surprise you what you've spent. Or maybe you analyze weekly, then you'll be able to, you know, it will be able to give you some analysis that you can make pretty good use of.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So and then the other goal on personal finance is to deal with debt, to keep us debt free. And the small sacrifices that we make to keep out of debt, we may not realize, but those will yield way later. We'll enjoy the fruits later, you know, staying out of debt, unless really, really necessary. So goal number 3, try as much as you can to keep off debt.
Do you know how easy it is nowadays to get money? Okay, they don't call it debt. There are mobile apps that keep popping up. You're on Facebook or you're on YouTube,
Yeah.
there's a mobile app that tells you there's 50,000 for you.
Yeah.
Try this 50,000.
Yeah.
And you're saying stay out of debt if you
But
can.
can I ask you the reverse of it? How many mobile apps pop up and tell you to save?
Okay. No, they want us to spend.
Thank you very much. So yeah,
They want us
so
to
let's
spend.
get, before we reach to the debt, let's start by having that discipline, list your expenses, list that that interest there, I would call it, I don't know whether it's an expense, maybe you're better placed than myself, but when you analyze, before you get there, of course debt is not bad for capital
Investments and all.
for capital
Yeah.
investment. That's a different type of debt. But I will not tell you, SK, please assist me with just 1,000 bob. I go make my hair, and then for me to repay you, I got to go to my sister, give me 1,000, I repay Carrier. So you see, the chain goes on. So I'm forever in debt, yeah? And I'm trying to live a life that's not mine. I'm trying to live someone's life because I saw somebody this way. I want to fit that lifestyle, which is not my lifestyle. So, and that gets me into debt because I cannot afford to live with the little that I have, so I have to borrow for me to be able to afford someone else's life.
But you see, there are these people who want to, I don't want to, there's something called FOMO. I don't want to fear of missing out. You don't want to miss out where it's happening, Guys are clubbing, I don't have money.
Yeah.
There's 50,000 speaking to me and very loudly.
Yes.
And this 50,000, I can, I can use that money to impress people, and I don't want to miss out. So
very good, very good. Then impress people. Then the question I like asking myself, then what? Then what? Okay, I've impressed you. Then
they're happy.
Them are happy.
My name, I'm out there. This is the guy,
Yeah.
I'm the guy.
This is the kid on the block.
Yeah.
Oh, but you see,
Mheshimiwa, mkurugenzi,
but at your own expense, and then in the
those titles are not cheap.
Those what?
No, mkurugenzi. The titles are not cheap. You have to live the style.
But what will the title do to you? Will it put food on your table?
Of course,
no.
get more money. You have to.
Yeah, and then
that style.
you have to live a debt life. Like whenever you meet me, you don't want to face me because you owe me. So everybody becomes your enemy because you borrowed from your circle of friends until now you cannot borrow anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, when people see you, they just want to run away from you. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're saying goal number one, as we close, goal number one is the financial buffer or financial fund.
Yes.
Goal number two, track all your expenses.
All of them.
And goal number three is stay out of debt.
Stay out of
and
debt.
This helps you manage your finances.
And maybe, sorry, to get back to maybe tracking your expenses, I think we should get to a point where we ask ourselves pertinent questions. We don't have to be slaves of ourselves and slaves of money, that whatever money calls us to, we say yes. I like telling people, there's some questions I ask myself, like I'm walking along the streets of Nairobi and I get something, I will ask myself, do I really need this thing? Do I really need it?
It's speaking to you.
It's fine. It's speaking to me, but fine. Do I really need it? But fine. Do I really need it? Then, depending on how genuinely you answer yourself, then you make your decision. Number two, can I afford it at the moment? Can I afford it? Do I need it? Can I afford it? Ask yourself those pertinent questions and answer yourself genuinely, And then the other thing is, can I live without it? Can I live without that suit? Yeah. And when you ask yourself those questions, then it will help you to make a sound decisions.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Bwana Director tells me time is up. Okay. Wow. Time flies when you're having fun. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
You didn't even get to the budgeting a bit, and there's so much I've learned personally, and I'm still remembering the 50,000 speaking to me and personally speaking to me. It's there popping up and it's telling me you can have me. I'm here. Yeah, but you're telling me to stay away from that.
Yeah.
Wow. We will get back to that, and I will definitely invite you over for another show to finish that up. And you said about budgeting. You'll tell us about budgeting. Yeah. So thank you very much, Martha, for coming and gracing our show. I'm very, very much honored, and it's Wow, I didn't realize time flies that fast. Wow,
We've
wow,
barely
wow.
done
So,
much, yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately today we'll end it up at that, and we'll get Mother to come and finish up and talk about budgeting. And it's always a pleasure to be in front of you and share with you tips and skills about what can help you manage your money better. So with that, we'll end it at that. God bless you. Have yourself a wonderful evening. Have yourself a wonderful day, a wonderful afternoon. Until we meet again, God bless you, and stay tight.
Wema TV, the voice of hope.